This is the 19th season of Bass Talk Live. BTL is presented by Bass Cat Boats, Strike King Lures, Aftco, Pro Guide Batteries, X-Zone Lures, Shoreline Boat and RV Repair, Spro, Gamakatsu, Big Bite Baits, The Bass Tank, Denali Rods, Beatdown Outdoors, and Sunline.
BTL coming at you.
Good morning and welcome to another exciting edition of BTL Bass Talk Live, where we are going to talk about bass fishing. Recorded show today. It is actually the final day of practice for the Bassmaster Open on Lake Eufaula in Oklahoma. And by God, if I'm going to catch him anywhere, I better catch him there. So I am on the water furiously flogging away. Probably not hooking much today. Probably a shake it off type of day since the Derby starts tomorrow. But really good show today. Guy that was on every single recorded show, podcast, radio station. I think he even made it to TSN. All the national broadcasts up in Canada. And I said, dude, let's give it a little bit of a rest after the 2023 Bassmaster Classic win out of Knoxville, Tennessee on the Tennessee River. Kind of let you kind of get back into the normal swing of life and then have a show where you kind of reflect on what it is like to be the reigning Bassmaster Classic champion. And that is none other than Jeff Gustafson. Thank you for jumping on BTL, Gussie.
Hey, thanks, buddy. I know we spoke right after the classic, and you're one of my shows that I like the most, and that covers bass fishing and this sport we all love. And I thought maybe it would work out a little better for doing this down the road a little bit and not having to sort of say the same things that I did over and over again with a lot of the other shows, but.
And rightfully so. I mean, that's how it works. You win events, you're making the news, you get the interviews. How many would you say you did in the first couple weeks after? Like, give me a serious ballpark as far as, let's do radio interviews, television interviews, podcasts, webcast shows. I mean, what number are we talking about here?
Probably like between 60 and 75 in like that 2 weeks right after. Like, the most stressful part was like, obviously like getting to talk to everyone's cool, but just trying to organize and time slot things. Cause I'd have some people were kind of pushy, and then other people were trying to do live stuff. And then, I'm traveling from Knoxville home, and we're going from Eastern time to Central time. There was a mix up on that, but yeah, good, really, not a real, tough problem. It's a good problem to have.
It is. Is that the wife that then kind of becomes like an agent for that time and monitors all this? I do know that, like, when we were texting, you texted me from another number. What do you, like, got multiple cell phones now and stuff?
I actually have a Canada number and a US.
Oh, okay.
So
I got you.
Back in the day when I would use if I used my Canada phone in the US, like it would be like $1 a text message, and it was insane expensive. So then, I'm actually my US number is on Seth Fider's family plan. So
seriously?
Yeah, because you need a US address and a social insurance, I think, to get a cell phone. It's not like you think it would just be easy to walk in and the way they flog cell phones to grab a new one. But anyway,
that's fantastic.
Is part of Seth's family plan, so much cheaper than Canada. But the way it is now, I probably could go back to just having one. But yeah, it's both numbers are kind of it's one of those things where it would be a lot of work to consolidate.
Well, we're in the middle of June now. Have things settled down for you? Does it feel like life is normal again? Is it still kind of a whirlwind?
It is kind of, now that we just got back from the Sabine River,
right.
And we get a good stint at home now. So that's been nice. Cause otherwise I've been like, go since January pretty much. And, it's nice. It's going to be nice to kind of catch up, reorganize a little bit. But as far as like yeah, like I was in our small town Kenora yesterday where I live, and I ran into like 5 or 6 people that were just like, hey, congratulations, people I hadn't seen in a long time, and like that's pretty cool. I still, and I've said this to people this week a number of times, but I still like can't believe it. Yeah, one of my my longest sort of buddies that I fished team tournaments with, him and I went out last night and caught some walleyes, and we were cleaning them in the shop after, and he was just like looking at the trophy and reading down off all the names on it, and just like one of those, like when we were teenagers, these guys were all of our idols, and Guido and Dion Hibden and Rick Clun. I mean, just I shouldn't name anyone because everyone's just about that has their name on that trophy is like a legend in my eyes. But yeah, it's pretty crazy, man. A lot of things just kind of went my way, and I still, like I say, can't believe it.
So you got the trophy in the shop now?
Yeah, it's out in my fishing shop. So I have a nice my shop's like about it's a lot nicer than our house is, so and all my fishing gear is, and that's where the trophy's been kind of living. But yeah, eventually we're gonna make a nice place for it in the house here.
What was the difference? Is it even comparable between? So you've won an elite series, which is a dream come true at the time, and then the classic is on the same venue, but what is the difference between those? Is winning an elite series and winning the classic? I mean, it was a big deal when you won that elite series for your career, for Canada, for that tournament fishing. Is there any comparison between a regular season win and a classic win, or is it just a billion times different when it comes to the classic?
No, I think it was fairly comparable, just because obviously it was my first sort of big win. So the first, I mean, that was awesome when that happened, and that did change a lot of things for me. The biggest difference, like personally, was during COVID. So like my wife wasn't there. I had no friends there really, other than like Carl and Brandon drove up for the weigh-in on the last day, and Mercer was, and I mean, I had a lot of friends within the bass community, but like, the cool thing at the classic was like just about my whole family was there. I had a lot of friends that came, a lot of friends that like showed up after that, like started traveling after day one went really well, and were there for the end. So that was probably like what made it the most special for me. But, and then as far as any of us that fish tournaments, the classic is just like special, right? Like and that's the part that I just like, I don't feel any like any more different, but it's a life-changing, win for sure.
And then were you at the Jets game? Was that the Jets game where they were like, hey, look, there's Gussie?
Yeah. A couple weeks after that. So Winnipeg's our closest city. It's about 2 hours from where I live, and they have an NHL team. So went up and watched a game. And so, over the years, I've fished with quite a few guys that have played. Like Dustin Bufflin him and I have gotten to be really good friends.
Oh my gosh.
Hockey there, and fished a lot, and like he showed up at the classic.
Oh no, I'm well aware.
Yeah, it was. Did you get to talk to him at all?
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
So we're at the bar after one of the nights of the classic, and someone goes, "Oh, there's Dustin Bufflin," and I'm a hockey nut, right?
Yeah.
And followed him with the Hawks a lot, and then obviously the Jets. I mean, one of the biggest, most talented power forwards of the generation, like just redefined it with the talent and the speed, and could also throw the mitts a little bit. And I'm like, why? And I didn't know that I'm like, why would Dustin Bufflin be at this rooftop bar at the Bassmaster Classic, just like hanging out? And I'm like, there's absolutely like no way. And I'm looking at him, and someone's like, yeah, that's Dustin Bufflin. And I had a few, but I mean, I had my wits about me, and I'm like, someone says you're Dustin Bufflin, and he's like, yeah, man. He shakes my hand like super nice. And I said, I don't think so. And I said, who was your goalie in your first Hawks run in the Stanley Cup? And he goes, Cristobal Huet. And I said, crap, you are Dustin Bufflin. And then he walked away. So I'm the guy questioning who the heck Dustin Bufflin is at the Bassmaster Classic. I felt like such an idiot afterwards. I told Mercer, he said, yeah, he was asking. He said someone was saying he wasn't who he was at the deal. I felt like such an idiot, but that was super cool though, because I mean that dude is a badass.
Yeah, so dude, Jamie Bruce, him and my brother, after Friday, like they worked on Friday and things went good, so they decided they like literally jumped in the truck and let's roll for Knoxville. And on Saturday morning they called Buff and like, hey, where are you at? Because they're gonna like drive through Mini and we'll pick you up. And he goes, I'm down in Florida with the family we're on a vacation. And he's like, hang on. And like 5 minutes later, he called them back and he's like, wife's taking me to the airport. I'll see you guys later on. And literally he flew up to Knoxville, a pair of flip-flops and a t-shirt.
That's why he was dressed like that too at the bar. And I was like, this makes no sense to me.
Showed up like that. So they were like walking around the expo looking for like 2 or 3X t-shirts. So he had a change, who was giving away big t-shirts. So he had could change his shirt, but yeah, no, awesome. It was just like, there was a few stories like that.
Yeah. The best Dustin Bufflin on ice that I've got. Remember when he had those two guys and he was ragdoll in one with each hand?
So, hey, I've only been to one playoff game. That was in Nashville. And I was at that game sitting with
really
mom. Yeah. And
no way.
We fished an FLW tournament. That was in 2018 at Smith Lake. So it's only like 2 hours south of Nashville. And I had a decent tournament, but I finished on Saturday and that was a Sunday afternoon game. So after I didn't make the cut, I texted him Saturday. I'm like, hey, if you can get me a ticket, I'm coming to the game. And he rounded one up and I was at that game, but that was for sure like the two biggest guys on their team. He just grabbed them and
What do you think it is about the hockey and fishing connection? There's a number of a lot of hockey players. I know Owen Nolan has his own show. Just a lot of the hockey guys like to fish. Is it just because a lot of them are from up north and people like to fish in Canada and you play juniors and your billet dad takes you fishing and you get hooked on it? Or what do you think the connection is there between hockey and fishing?
Yeah, I think, fishing's a relaxing activity. So these guys, I mean, obviously have it pretty good, but they go through a lot of high stress in their lives, and I think it's just a good way to get away. And as far as like a lot of them are into tournament fishing too. And you have that competitive bug and it's just another sort of way to fill that. But Mike Richards, I mean, he had a really good career. He's from Kenora where I'm from as well. So,
oh, really?
Yeah. He spends a lot of time fishing now and fishes a lot of our local tournaments. Nick Antropov played in the NHL for quite a few years. He was actually from Kazakhstan and never got to fish growing up. It was a sport for rich people is what he always told me over in Europe. And he never got to do it. And now he lives in Canada now, fishes all the time. But Connor Hellebuck, like the Jets goalie, superstar goalie, he lives at, really close to Lake St. Clair, fishes out there. His brother's actually fishing some of the opens this year. But yeah, there's a bunch of players that like fishing, but
who else is fishing the open is Mercer's buddy who just retired.
Brian Bickle, yeah. Yeah,
Bickle, and had a decent finish in the first one that he fished. I think he was like right around middle of the pack.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, no, it's pretty cool. So I've been lucky. Like I can, if I want to go to a game, I can hit one of these guys up and they'll look after me for some tickets.
Is the ambiance or the atmosphere of the Jets games as cool as it looks on TV? Because it looks like every single person there is freaking all in at a Jets game.
Yeah, I mean it's a smaller arena, like it's around 15,000. So they crank like really pile them in there, and it's sort of you're right over top of the ice. Like there's not really a bad seat in that place, and yeah, it's nuts. It's not as crazy as it was the first few years when they've been back since 2011, and I can remember being at a game, like they used to pick on like the best player for the opposite team, and they would start chanting something, and they did this to every team, and they don't do it anymore. But like I can remember being at a Washington game one time, and they started chanting to Ovechkin, "Crosby's better, Crosby," like just stuff.
Yeah.
It would be something sort of intelligent and funny, but yeah, it's a hardcore. I mean, hockey. Everybody. A lot of people live hockey for sure in central Canada. We get real winter, and that's yeah, they have some good fans there.
Were you a Jets fan when Teemu Solani was back in the day when he had like 70 something goals as a rig? Remember he tossed his glove up in the air and shot it after he chipped that puck in the cage.
Yeah, he has the rookie record, 76, and yeah, pretty crazy. That guy went on to have an amazing career, but I've always been a Jets fan. I'm a huge Penguins fan, so that's sort of always the team. And like, my wife will agree that like for my health, I need to like
stick with the Penguins.
Well, no, like just relax from it a little bit because I can't believe how like worked up and like emotional I get with it, but yeah, big Penguins fan. But the Jets are sort of my team in the West, and my I cheer for them as well.
Okay, let's talk about a couple different things here, and then we'll take a break. But the first thing I want to get into is, and I've thought about this because I don't know what the right way to go about this is. You win an event on the Tennessee River out of a specific area doing a specific bait the same time of year, 3 years before the Bassmaster Classic. Then you go to the Bassmaster Classic. How does that work in your mind with the spot? Because as someone followed it, I'm going, well, I would never have these people there. No one would have ever been there had Gussie not done that the first time. But what, 3 years later at a different field in the Classic are 51 other guys supposed to go, well, Gussie fished there 3 years ago and showed us all about it, so we're not even going to go look at that. We're going to give him the whole thing. And then I saw you after media day, and I said, yes or no, and you said, oh, they're stacked in there. And you said, but I've got a lot of company, so it's going to get real Western real quick.
Mm-hmm.
How does that work? Like in your mind, what is there a right? Is there a wrong? I'm honestly at a loss as to what the right thing to do there is, not only from your perspective, should you be pissed if other guys are there, but from other guys' perspective, is it wrong to go in there because it's something you did 3 years ago that was on national television?
Well, yeah, good question. And I mean, I've thought about it, talked about this a lot with people, and you can't. The one thing at that level, you can't really be mad. I mean, there's a lot on the line. Guys are going to do what they feel like they need to do to do their job, make their living. I will say, I think what kind of like I was disappointed in a couple people that I thought were kind of my friends that maybe had more intel on it than other people and were kind of fishing around it. Because I know, at the same time, like my good friends, like Seth and Christy, and I mean, some of these guys didn't go fish it and at all. But I wasn't. I guess I was the part. Like a couple guys went. Like because obviously I went in there the first day of practice, checked it out. Like, oh, there's fish here, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna learn this better than everybody else. This is gonna be where I'm gonna spend my time. And then after 2 days, I just realized like there was a big local tournament the next day. So those guys were showing everyone kind of where the fish were and how to catch them. And then I realized like there's no one's winning the tournament in this canal. Like there's just too much pressure. Hopefully I can take a couple out of here and just sort of help the cause a little bit. But I guess the part that disappointed me kind of the most was like, there was a few guys that like literally went they watched the TV show from last time and literally just went to like the couple places where I caught them. And that's where they just started fishing. Cause like other guys were in the area and just started looking around, like trying to find their own little thing there. And that didn't necessarily like irritate me as much, but I don't know. Yeah. I've just like I'm not obviously going to say any names, but like a few guys just kind of irritated me the way that they did it. And then they're, coming up to you, trying to talk to you and ask questions and be buddy. And it's just like, I don't know.
So do you think that Bassmaster does too good of, I've done a show with this on Mercer. I think that in some instances, love the coverage, love the detailed, but at some point you don't need to know exactly where these guys are on the water. Do you think in some instances Bassmaster does too good of a job covering the tournaments as far as the exact locations as where guys are on the water? And that there should be a little bit more gray area, maybe like a glowing circle that shows the general 5 mile area where you are, and not the boom, here it is with the Google Earth image.
Yeah, I agree. I think so. Cause you can definitely like put some damage on some of these fisheries when you show the exact location. And like the couple places where I caught them this time, I mean, I'm never going to be able to go back to those and catch fish off them again. It's over. But I don't know. I think it could be a little bit more vague because I've had it in some of these events where you after you reveal a spot and fish a spot, and that was sensitive during the Classic. Like I knew I had 2 good schools, and my game plan heading into the tournament was like I wanted to just try to catch them out of that canal the first day and not have to because I knew I'd have people following, and I didn't. Once I gave up these schools, you never know. Like most people aren't going to go fish them, but some guys I've just learned can't help themselves. And I feel like after day 2, like all of a sudden on day 3, I can't catch these fish. And there's, it's just like, I feel like somebody was fishing for them on Saturday afternoon,
Interesting.
I could be wrong, but it was just weird the way it kind of, everything just got, it was just so different. It felt like, but, I got lucky where the first day the canal thing didn't go the way I wanted in the morning, and I didn't want to mess around too long. So I went to the first of my 2 schools, caught them, and then I didn't have to sort of reveal the second spot until day 2. And luckily it worked out. It was sort of the hard way on the final day, but it worked out.
I would imagine it has to be kind of surreal because the Classic announces that it's going to be at Knoxville. You've already won there. You have 10 months to think about this thing. And just as an angler, I don't think at least me, like as soon as I hear something, I'm going to have some image pop into my head of how I'm going to catch him. I'm going to be visualizing something based on how you won. Like that's how you had to visualize winning the Classic, like how you would win the Classic 10 months before, and then every day leading up to it, and then all the hype with you having already won there. Like you actually basically like manifested exactly how you thought it would be done, right? Because you did it the same way. Or were you prepared to do something completely different going in there if that wasn't going to play? Or is that what you were doing no matter what?
I mean, I bought a pile of rattle baits and spinner baits and all kinds of bank meat and stuff before the tournament. Just, like you watch how Ott won and how most of the guys catch fish there. But once I got there and, saw that that smallmouth program still existed and that there was still some fish out deep, all that, then I was just like fully committed to doing that, knowing that, and I think that sort of helped me a little bit because the 18-inch thing makes that a challenge there. And but if you could catch 5 of them, 5 smallmouths every day, I knew that would be really hard to beat. And I just fully committed to, once I got there, I spent maybe 3 or 4 hours on Saturday afternoon largemouth fishing, and I caught a few, but like not, no big ones. And I just knew that to win the tournament, if it was a regular elite event, you fish a little different, right? And it's sort of cliche to say that because I'm the last guy that goes out all the time with the attitude of like, oh, I'm going to fish to win. Like I always have that, but at the same time, over the last several years, I've been pretty proud of my consistency and like, you don't want to ever miss making the Classic and not getting a limit. Like that sort of stuff's important too. So for this event though, I mean, you try to kind of go all in and fish.
All right, we are talking with Jeff Gustafson in 2023. Oh, sorry, froze up on me there for a second, Jeff. Now you're back.
What?
Sorry, well, go ahead. Finish your thought, then we'll take a break. I was trying to cut it off, and then you froze on me, but you're back.
Okay, so I'll start over with. You want me to start? Are we?
You're good. No, we got half of the thought. Just finish the thought.
I forget what we were even talking about, but it was about.
You're talking about consistency, about how you pride yourself on being a consistent angler. That winning isn't always first on your mindset, but then it comes into play.
Yeah, so you got to recognize, like, when you have a chance to win, maybe you hit on one of these events, you try and take advantage of it. And I've learned that, but yeah, going into the Classic, I knew that, fishing for those smallmouths was a way to win the tournament. And, I was comfortable doing that, and it luckily all worked out.
All right, we're almost 3 months out now. We're going to take our first break of the show. When we come back, you have had a little bit of time to reflect on this. You've been able to catch up on phone calls, on emails. I want to know about the marketing machine. Are the loonies flowing? Is there just cash offers coming through? Do you get home every day and your phone and email is just packed with people wanting to give you cash, promote their stuff and appearances? Or what is it really like when you get back to the grind of everyday life as a Classic Champ and being able to capitalize on it? You willing to talk about that? I don't want to get into any of the personal stuff there, but I'm kind of curious because it used to always say, remember, the Classic is $1 million win. You win the Classic, you get $1 million. And that was when it paid $500,000. So I'm curious now if you're a multimillionaire.
Okay, we'll
just because of these 90 days since the Classic. It's BTL with Jeff Gustafson on a Wednesday. We'll be back right after this.
The new Puma STS has been redesigned from the ground up. With the angler, design, function, and performance in mind, nothing on this new offering was compromised, and the only thing carried over from the previous version is the name. Based on the Soft Touch series hull that started with the flagship Jaguar, this new model is nimble and performs incredibly well at all speeds with either a 250 or 300 horsepower engine. Featuring a new 96-inch wide-body footprint, this hull measures out at 20 foot 7 inches in length. Industry-leading design coupled with tournament-winning performance. The Puma STS from Basscat. Feel the rush.
Everything you need, one legendary brand. Top on Strike King.
So I'm a big guy, a lunker, a two-sandwich eating kind of man. And on behalf of all of those bigger, I gotta say it once and for all, it's bad enough that the fish look smaller in our hands. The last thing we should have to worry about is getting quality outdoor clothing that fits. AVCO, any fish, any water.
Elite Series Pro Daryl Gleason here. My Pro Guide batteries keep me going on those long tournament days and long practice days. Always plenty of juice, never fail. The best part about Pro Guide batteries, it's the people behind the company. They have over 40 years experience in the battery business, keeping all of us fishermen out on the water longer, catching more fish. Check them out at ProGuideBatteries.com.
What's up, Bass Talk Live fans? Brandon Polnick here. And ever since I won a couple Bassmaster Elite Series events on X-Zone Lures, I've been getting a bunch of questions of what makes them so special and different. And really, the truth is, it's in the details. The little details, things like no cheap fillers in their plastic. That gives you more lifelike action, more realistic and vibrant colors. But don't just take my word for it. Go to www.xzonelures.com and check them out for yourself.
Have you considered purchasing new electronics for your rig? The type of mounts you choose to protect your investment should be part of the decision-making process. No matter if you prefer 1, 2, or 3 graphs up front, Beatdown Outdoors has a solution for you. Adjustable, versatile, rigid, and made in the USA. What's your ultimate electronics setup? Check out the full selection of Beatdown Outdoors products by visiting beatdownoutdoors.com. All right, welcome back. BTL on a Wednesday, talking with Classic champ Jeff Gustafson. We talked money beforehand, and I guess this is the Mark Jeffries in me after co-hosting the show with him for 13 or 14 years. This is one of his favorite questions to ask the classic guys about it. But the financial windfall that followed the classic, is that a real thing? Is that highly exaggerated as to what it is? Or is there some cool stuff in the works? What are you willing to say about that aspect of it, Jeff?
Yeah. So like back like in the 90s, if you heard about the classic, the number one like tagline that went along with it was, if you win, you're an instant millionaire.
You're set for life, man.
Yeah. And no, I have not seen 7 digits in my bank account. That's for sure. I talked to Ike about it a little bit after, and I said I'm jealous because I think back then those guys could go around and like make appearances at worth shows and tackle stores, boat dealers, that sort of thing, and make an amount of money off each appearance. And now with like the internet and stuff, you do all these podcasts and interviews, and I don't know. I think those guys had a lot more opportunity to like sort of capitalize it like in that months following than maybe you do now. And I guess like for me, I'm not, it's just my schedule is so busy and I love to fish and be on the water so much that like, I'm just not like that diehard or keen to go and just be making appearances every weekend, But
that's a great point. Yeah. Now you can see it, it's like back then you were kind of like the bearded lady at the county fair where you'd pay $5 to go see it and be a novelty. Yeah. Here's this guy that you only saw in Bassmaster or during the hour TV show. And now you could get close to him, but now people feel like they can know it. They kind of know the story. So it's less, but what about non-endemic sponsors? What about sponsors from outside of the industry, especially with Canada? Have you been, has there been any interest in that where you're like, holy cow, this is a big deal here?
I've had a couple people just sort of let's talk later in the year of those, but nothing like really that crazy. And like I stay with Jason, Christy, and Shanna, Shelby, and I do on the Elite Series, and like just talking to him about it, like he said he never had one new sponsor offer come in after his win last year. It's just, wow. Now, and I guess I'm kind of the same, probably not quite at the same level as Jason, but like fairly well covered with all the different categories of fishing gear. So maybe you just, some of these other brands see that and just are respectful of that and whatever. But with some of my current sponsors, a few of them have, seemed pretty happy, and I guess maybe you get a little bump going into next year, that sort of thing. I'm gonna get some more opportunities that come from this, but yeah, it hasn't been like you maybe the perception is that your phone's ringing off the hook and everybody wants to throw money at you, but it hasn't really been like that.
Do you think the bait also makes a difference? I remember like the Jay Yellis was at the Berkeley Rattle a Jig that came out. It was the classic winning. You'd have the classic winning spinner bait or the You won on a pretty cool bait. Nothing against it. Don't take this the wrong way, but it's not like a thrilling bait. It kind of reminds me of like the Casey Ashley underspin from Lake Hartwell, kind of like hoe bait. It's like just a minnow bait, cool jig head, cool story behind the jig head and all that, but it's not really a, wow, I got to get my hands. And then it's also very duplicatable, so to speak, in a certain way. Now I know you've got that. Was there, when it came to the bait, is there talk of signature series? Was there things like that are going on? Because I know the jig head was unique, and then obviously the Z-Man, like those things were nowhere to be found in any brand, style, or type for a couple months after that win. Were you able to take advantage of that in any way?
Yeah, a little bit. Z-Man's we're gonna have a new color that has my name on it coming out. So that's cool. And then with the jigs, I mean, like, and the baits too. Like I've literally thousands of fish have been caught using that jerk shad style bait on a jig head in my life. And I have tried every single bait out there, all the different kinds of jigs. I mean, I'm a anyone that's really hardcore tournament angling, like I'm going to use the best tackle that I feel like is available to me to do my job. And, there's a lot of jerk shads and minnow baits out there and you can catch fish on a lot of them, but the Z-Man baits for that technique are superior. Just like the durability is one thing. You can dab a super glue, keep that bait on there. You miss a fish, your bait's not getting pulled down or chewed up. And then the buoyancy of it, I think, really does help, make it sit horizontal and sit proper in the water. The jig head, I mean, the right 90-degree eye, primo gammy 604 hook. And that's why, I boat flipped a lot of those fish. I can pull on them. I'm getting them in the boat. I'm not sitting there chasing them around. I don't want to do that with smallmouths. I put them in the boat, and that, if you didn't have that hook and that jig, you couldn't do that. Like if you had a lighter wire hook or, so just like the whole system was pretty dialed.
Yeah, absolutely. You're a fan of the sport. I'm sure you saw what Wheeler just did a couple weeks ago on Gunnersville. Now these baits have been out. He did it on like a Rapala prototype soft plastic bait, do the whole deal, get the release at ICAST. But there's the spunk shad and the eye shad, and you start naming stuff. Then people are like, you didn't name the original one. Sorry, you know what I'm talking about. Those baits. Now, when I first saw that, and they've been out a while, but I thought, holy cow, that's the same thing Gussie's doing, except it's bigger and offshore and in the summer. But there's a lot of the same principles at play that allow both of those to be effective. What are your thoughts on that? Do you do that? Did you notice that? Does that intrigue you?
So, like I said, been doing this for like a long time since I was a teenager in the early 2000s. And, I was disappointed when I saw that because over the last year or two, I've expanded to using that bait for other than just smallmouths when they're deep, spotted bass for largemouths. Last year at Lake Fork, I caught fish on that style of bait. At Pickwick, we had a ledge tournament.
Oh, wow.
Didn't really get on it until the tournament on some fish that were really hard to catch. All of a sudden I could catch them with that style of bait. I think at like, I want to say at like 7 of our 9 elite events last year, I caught fish on a jerk shad on a jig head. So it's a big part of my arsenal. I just something that I have a lot of confidence in. So I'm using it in more places. And then to see him lay a beating on everybody with that style of bait at Gunnersville was, I was more like, damn, I didn't really want to see that, but yeah, it's effective. It's just so natural. I mean, it's similar to a swim bait, but it's just a little different look. It's more subtle. It's more natural. And obviously it's a great hooking bait too. I mean, it's something that smallmouth, largemouth, it's a bait that those fish can get in their mouth pretty easy.
I am firmly believe, and I've talked to a couple guys about this, and they're on the same page. I'm like, dude, the Nico worm over the last couple of years, people have learned about how versatile that bait is, and that doesn't seem to go down. But you get baits that have distinct signatures, whether it be a specific jerk bait that rattles, and we're starting to see fish that are now darting off or following it and not just swimming up and attacking it on the live scope like he did. The Alabama rig, when it first came out, now you've got that signature. You're seeing fish swim through it, follow it, not eat it. But my theory is that there are certain baits that do not have signatures because they never act the same. Therefore, you can't, that warning or the danger thing never activates on their lateral line. It always feels natural. The Nico worm, a wacky rig Cinco, and this moping or bait fish on a jig head, this thing, well, fish can never get conditioned to it because every time it falls and every time you shake it, it's going to have a different signature. Have you thought about that? Has that crossed your mind? Do you think that's one of the reasons why it's so effective?
I mean, I don't think about stuff like that in depth. I just know, like, if something works, I'm doing it. And
yeah,
the biggest thing with those sorts of baits is getting the bait nice and straight on your jig head. If it's twirling or rolling at all, no good. You're going to twist your line. You're not going to get any bites. There's a lot of like, just, I'm anal on making sure that bait is rigged up perfect. And that helps get a lot more bites. But, the little marabou jigs are the same deal. I mean, just something that's ultra subtle and doesn't make a lot of noise. But like, if you put that in the view of a smallmouth in shallow water, I mean, it's going to probably eat it. And, just sort of a similar kind of thing, I think, in my head.
Have you gotten that marabou to work anywhere outside of like northern smallmouth fisheries? Like, have you ever gone to like TVA places that have smallmouth and gotten it to work? Or is that like I can't tell. I'm trying to look. Is that like the secret? But I feel like that is such a situational bait. But I had a buddy who threw one at Wheeler, and we were like, "The hell are you doing?" And he's like, "Well, there's smallmouth in here." And we're like, "Dude, like different smallmouth."
Yeah, different. I
don't know. I mean, is that the next unlocking the frontier, marabou in the south?
Yeah, probably. Like, dude, at Lake Murray when we were there, like, I don't know if you fished there yet, but like, what a factory, full of fish. But like, I would see hundreds of big fish, largemouths every day up in like just cruising up in 2 to 4 feet of water, like so similar to how like Great Lakes smallmouths cruise around up in the shallows. I mean, and I had a few marabou jigs in the back of my truck, and I just like after one of the practice days, I was like, I gotta throw those fluffs in tomorrow and just see if they work on this. And then I just kept forgetting to do it, and I never tried it. But like,
no, that could have been crazy. You could have blown everyone's mind.
Oh man, if you could have caught some of these fish, it would have been insane. So, but no, I mean, but I will say, like up north, anyone that goes up north, if smallmouths are in like 10 feet of water or less, and you put that jig in front of them, it's a weapon. It's crazy.
Which one do you use?
I make my own.
Oh, okay.
I will say Northland Tackle, one of my sponsors, they're making one. It's an elite, it's going to be out this summer, and it's poured on a number 1 604 hook, Gamakatsu hook, and they're tied really nice. One of the best ones you can buy. And then my buddy Brian at Lake of the Woods Sports, the same guy that makes the Smeltonator jigs, he sells like a Primo one, also built on a Gamakatsu hook as well.
Did he fish the opens?
He fished
last year,
a couple years ago,
Cherokee.
like COVID year.
Did he fish any on Cherokee? I pulled up next to someone who said that they were like at Cherokee. I remember who was like, "Hey,
Jamie Bruce."
Okay.
And he finished 3rd in that tournament. That was his first open. He's a really good friend of mine, super good fisherman. That's kind of going for it. But yeah, he uses all that stuff for sure.
You've got 4 tournaments under your belt since winning the Classic. The way that they structure it, you had a couple tournaments, then the Classic. Sometimes there's only a week or two. You actually had basically a month to kind of regroup and get your life together before you got back on the water. But that first day of practice on Lake Murray in Columbia, South Carolina, as the now Bassmaster Classic champion, was that a weird feeling idling out on that first morning of practice, knowing, holy crap, I'm the Classic champ?
Yeah, you kind of feel like King Kong a little bit. I mean, but like at the same time, it's been kind of nice, and maybe it's hurt my results a little bit over these last few tournaments. Like maybe the killer isn't there as much because I'm in the Classic for next year. The pressure, right. We've gone to some tough fisheries. I mean, like Murray was that was awesome. I needed to figure out how to catch some of those fish a little bit better. I learned a lot during the week, and I ended up just missing the cut. Santee was just like a tough bite. Just the timing of when we were there. So I sort of survived that one. Lay with tough bite. I came out of that one pretty good. And then the Sabine, it caught up with me a little bit, which, not really in my wheelhouse. I had a decent practice and made a pretty big run the first day. And the area that I went to was just flooded, high, muddy, like completely different than the first 2 practice days. And that's sort of been my experience with tidal stuff in the past, just like really not knowing, having a clue what's going on. And that was it. sort of had a tough first day there, and then rallied a bit the second day. But we got 3 smallmouth tournaments left, so I'm excited for those, and expect to have some good results in those events. But yeah, I mean, I probably, I'd probably taken it a little bit easier than I normally would have the last month or two. But at the same time, just try to enjoy the moments and all that. Like, it's funny because last year, like staying with Jason, I never saw after he won, I never saw him once in the morning the whole season. Like I would, I'm getting up for launching at the first.
And he's
oh yeah, I never saw him once. Like he's just waking up whenever he wakes up, and I'm just like, damn, it must be nice just to be that good that like you don't,
Yeah.
But now this year, obviously the classics at Grand Lake, he doesn't want to miss that. And he's kind of like he's had a few really good events and a few toughies. So he's sort of like on the bubble. But yeah, he's been beating me to the ramp in the mornings this year.
So you guys are rooming together when he was a defending classic champ. Then he hands off the classic trophy to you.
Yeah.
And he slapped the crap out of you too.
Yeah,
did you have a handprint?
I heard you talking about it. It made me laugh. At the time, I didn't. I mean, it was such a rush and a blur, everything that happened on the stage. But I've watched it back, and yeah, you could see that on there, and it was fine. I think he was sort of fired up.
And now you're the classic champ. So did he give you any advice? Has he given you any advice on like how to handle it, how to take it?
No, not like straight up, just like advice, but like on the morning of day 3, because like it was just like, hey, can we do a quick interview? Can we do a quick interview on the dock? And I just like needed a relief from that for a minute. I walked down and he was, I want to say he was around in 10th or something. And I just went and jumped in his boat, and I knew no one was coming between passing him into his boat to come and talk to me. So that was kind of just a few minutes and he didn't have to say anything like, oh, make sure you catch him today, or like stuff like that. I mean, that was,
don't screw it up.
Yeah. He's just very easy to be around. He's funny and
he's funny.
Yeah.
Wait, are you saying that Jason Christie is easy to be around?
Dude, I know. It's hilarious because he's the perception is that he's this intimidating.
That's not the perception. That's who he is. I've heard this from Brad Hallman. Brad Hallman's like, dude, when I room with Jason Christie, I have to tell him to shut up and that it's time to go to sleep. And I'm like, I do not believe you. And he's like, no, that dude will chat. And I'm like, no, he won't. And he's like, yeah, that's just for guys like you that he's like that for.
Yeah. No, he's funny. And no, it's been good. It's been, but he just, nothing gets him really worked up too much. And that's when I say easy to be around. And I think it's rubbed off on me a little bit. He took me on 10 killer last year, a couple days. We had a week off in between events. And like, I can tell you one thing, we do not want to fish a tournament against him out there.
I've done it multiple times. I'm 0 for 5 and he's 5-0 on the win in the win category.
Like we'd pull up to a little place and he'd be like, cast right there in between those two trees, and like and count to 5 and start reeling, or just count to 5 and set the hook. And it was pretty impressive. But like, you fish with, and I've been lucky. Like, I've got to fish with quite a few of these guys that are, have had a lot of success. And a lot of it's not like secret baits. It's just doing a lot of the little things right, the simple things right. Make good casts, be quiet in the boat, approach your, make your approach good. Just like a lot of the simple things, these guys do it right. And that's something maybe that's rubbed off on me a little bit too.
That's a really good point, because that winter before the Classic on Hartwell that Christie won, obviously we know his history on Hartwell and how he stuck with the bladed jig the previous years. He would fish all these winter jackpots on 10 killer. He'd launch his boat, everyone would take off, and then he would come in with 22 to 24 pounds, primarily a smallmouth. And, everyone talks, and we're all like, dude, this guy's like down lake with a spinning rod.
Mhm.
And what he was doing was he was honing his craft with that sonar minnow, and that because he knew that that's what he had to get good at to win at Hartwell. And then it was crazy because, I mean, he's fishing these 25, 30 boat jackpots, smashing it, but that's all he's doing is learning that technique, figuring out that technique. And then he goes to Hartwell and does that, which is not what anyone expected him to do. And it was just cool to be like, dude, like he put in a year plus work on that for those 3 days so that he would be ready when it happened that time of the year. It was cool to see.
Yeah, no, for sure. So yeah, no, it's been fun. So Shanna and Shelby actually kind of hit it off a few years ago, and that's where the relationship started. I didn't really know Jason prior to that, and other than just chatting the bag line here and there. But yeah, it's been a lot of fun, and it's been good.
That's back to back. That's back to back minnow on a jig head wins too. I guess I just realized that.
Yeah.
Listen, if you think about it, the simplest baits are the most effective.
Yeah.
Think about it. It's not the stuff that wiggles and wobbles and is crazy and extreme and flashes. It's very subtle, simple baits. Think Gary Yamamoto.
Yeah.
Think TRD. Think minnow on a jig head, tube jig.
Yeah.
A beaver. Like a beaver or like a BFE or something like that. Like it's not out there going, it's just real subtle. Everything that's subtle.
Yep. So, I mean, it's so much more important to find fish than your bait choice generally. I mean, there's times obviously the bait's important, but like if you're not putting your bait in front of fish, you're not going to get any bites. And that's like not only for tournament fishing, for guiding, any species. You got to be able to find fish. And that's where just, spending time on the water, like there's so many other important elements to like making a living in the fishing community, however you want to do it. But like at the end of the day, you got to be able to catch fish. And that's, sort of where a lot of those like general principles are important to know.
Extrapolate out here. The rest of the season next year, you've got to win. You've got a classic win. I mean, dude, you've accomplished a lot and you're still a young guy. What's going to keep the fire going? What's going to keep you driving? What are your goals moving forward?
I mean, for me, I've said this before, but I just want to avoid having to get a real like Monday to Friday job. It's a real job that I have. I understand that, but yeah, I love what I get to do. And I think for me, like I booked a bunch of guide trips earlier in the winter, have a bunch of sponsor activities, fish a lot of tournaments around home over the summer. We've got 3 elite events left. I have literally like 2 free days left the rest of this sort of like through September into October. Like it's just, I've got too much. Next year, I got to do a better job of like just scheduling better, leaving some more free days. Again, not a real first world problem there, but
yeah, but I mean, sometimes you like to check out and just have 3 days to just go fish.
Yeah. Fish with your parent, my dad, and my, fish with Shelby, different buddies. And so you get sort of too busy and you lose the ability to like go and have fun and do that sort of stuff. Cause I just love being out there and where we live up on Lake of the Woods. It's sort of like the next 3 months, this is the greatest place in the world to live. I feel like I love it here. Awesome fishing, awesome weather. So you want to just try and enjoy as much of our short summer as you can.
Do you like triple your guide rates? I mean, you're a Bassmaster Classic champ now. Or are you like, hey, like, it's going to cost a little for an extra 500. We'll strap the Classic trophy to the back deck while we smallmouth fish.
Yeah. Maybe for next year. Yeah. I don't have the heart to throw that on the people for this year, but
you could do the Classic experience.
Yeah. Picture. There you go. There I can
fish with the Classic trophy on Lake of the Woods with me. We'll strap the sucker on the back deck and we'll go out and have a day.
Yeah, I like it. You want to be the organizer of all that?
I'm trying to organize my life just to get to where I'm supposed to be, what I'm supposed to be there, Jeff. You don't want me trying to organize yours.
So, what's the program going to be for this next Open?
So I love going to the new lakes, but it's weird when it's a new lake that you're familiar with. Have you ever been in that situation before in a tournament, or just based on where you are in the Elite Series and FLW Tour, you're always the new guy at the lake. Like you've never been a hometown guy, have you?
No, 9 hours is the closest I've ever had an event. That La Crosse, Wisconsin, and Lake Oahe. Those were both like 9 hours for me, and that's until we get to go into Minnesota. Hopefully there's Leech Lake in Minnesota would probably be my number one pick, or even Rainy Lake on the Minnesota side. That would be where I actually have a lot of experience and would have an advantage. But no, I don't get that luxury a lot. But
yeah, I mean, like, so you follow. Am I a Jason Christie out there? Heck no. Am I Justin Phillips or any of those local guys? No, but I mean, I know my way around the pond. I fish a bunch of derbies there, so it's looking forward to get a derby to get back in the mix. There's nothing worse than a derby where it doesn't put you ahead; it gets you back to where you can start stressing out again. Like it's nice to either be way out of it or way in it, and I think you're kind of experiencing that. You mentioned it, going, holy cow, I'm already in the Grand Classic. Like that has to change the way you fish a little bit and be such a relief to know that you've already accomplished what 103 other guys are trying to accomplish right now.
Yeah, and I still want to I'm outside the line a little bit after my big awesome showing last weekend, but I still want to qualify and earn it. So, and I feel like I'm still in a pretty good position to do that, but yeah, no, I mean, you guys have a lot of fishing left and some tough, like a real mishmash of venues. So, I mean, that's going to flop and change around a lot, I think, in the next few events.
Yeah, it is. It's amazing how much decision making. And as you get into this and even you're trying to the top 9, it's like, one decision here, one decision there can change so much of your future. And you've experienced that. I mean, you've made some good decisions in the past. And you see how much one good decision. And then the other thing is execution. And you talked a little bit about that minnow with the jig head has good execution, but dude, like it's hard when you're trying to catch 6 to 8 3 to 5 pounders and to land 5 of them. So I don't know if you struggle with that, like on fishing baits that have higher hook to land ratios than others, but man, I've had a bunch of stuff come unbuttoned this year, and I'm working on mentally working on it. But I also feel here, answer me this. If you're thinking about losing the fish, have you ever been through a period of time where you're thinking about your execution while you're fishing and it always seems like that's when you lose them? It's like if you're playing left wing and you're mentally thinking, chip the puck out. Where am I supposed to be? What's my gap on my D-man? Should I pinch down? And if you're thinking about that stuff, you're going to get freaking burned.
Yeah. If
you just do it, all of a sudden you're on odd man breaks, you're stuffing rebounds home. I think it's the same thing in fishing.
Absolutely. And it's funny because I'll fish like all these team tournaments around home during the summer, and we can use nets. And I lose more fish in these tournaments with a partner where you can net them than I do on the Elite Series where we can't use nets. And I think I really don't. Maybe you're like somebody new and I get the opens, you can't use nets either. So that's probably where a lot of anglers have their first sort of experience where you can't use a net in a tournament situation. But I mean, yeah, the few times when I get to be on camera, I mean, I'll grab them if I have to, if it's a big fish and it's a small hook, whatever. But I generally often use like a size heavier line than I maybe need to. And, like all my jigs have 604 hooks in them, like 100%, 1000%. And I just know that I can pull a little bit harder with that little bit heavier gauge hook, like little things like that I think about. But when I'm actually on the water fishing, I don't think about it too much. And I really, I can think of like last year, 1 or 2 fish that I lost during the season. And this year, I mean, it's been really minimal. I lost one the first day of the Classic that I tried to boat flip on a small hook and I shouldn't have. But in that event, if those smallmouths came up and they kind of wanted to jump, then I would just let them jump and I'd that was sort of my chance to put them in the boat. And I did that quite a bit, but yeah, you can't think about stuff too much. And even like casting, like when you want to put a bait up in a hole in a dock or something,
just do it.
a tree. If I think about it, I'm hitting the dock, I'm putting it in the trees. If I'm just going along not thinking about it, I'll make these like amazing casts. Like, it's weird, but
you've mentioned this a couple times. I want to bring this up. The 604 seems to be the money jig hook. There it is right there. That's it, right?
Yep.
All right. So what makes that one? So you said it just the right gauge, the right everything.
Yeah. So it's kind of a little bit heavier gauge. They make a lighter 90-degree jig hook as well. That's a light wire. But I use these. All my Marabou jigs, like the hair jigs, have a number 1 in them. And then, the Smeltinator jig I use with the 4-inch jerk shot at the Classic 2/0. I use a 1/0 for a lot of my Ned rigs, 3/0 for the 4/0 for the tubes and swim baits.
So that's the hook for dang near everything.
Tubes,
604
ball heads, like a 5/0 with a quarter 3/8 ball head, just unpainted lead ball heads. I'm using those for like umbrella rigs up here in the summer. We can use them in some of our tournaments. They work pretty good. But yeah, that's the hook that I have in pretty much all of my jigs, thousands of them in my shop.
That's good stuff.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, there's a bunch of different jig heads out there. All right. What else you got? Anything else you have coming up that you want to talk about, direct people to? I
mean, I'm around home here for the month of June, so I'm happy. I'm going to be fishing quite a bit. I went and caught some walleyes last night after dinner, and that's going to be my lunch today. But no, I mean, we got a nice break. End of July, we're back at it at Lake St. Clair. And then the last 2 weeks of August, we are at Champlain and the St. Lawrence River. So it's going to be, get to spend 3 weeks fishing 3 of the best smallmouth places in the country. So yeah, I'm looking forward to those more than anything.
I've asked this to one other angler off the record, and it helped me become a much better smallmouth fisherman just because of their answer. I won't even tell you what the answer is, but I want to ask you this. What is the one thing that all good smallmouth anglers, take the Johnsons, you, Brandon, all those guys, what do you all have in common that allows you to consistently catch them on different northern fisheries?
I think
one trait,
the most important, like, single thing that people need to know is if the weather's sunny and nice, calm, the hotter and nicer it is, the more big ones you're going to find up shallow. If it's cloudy, overcast, darker, windy, drop out a little bit deeper. Number one,
the opposite of what most of the southern guys would do.
Yeah. That's very important. And then when you go to any of those northern places like that I just mentioned, I mean, they show themselves right away if they're there. And these smallmouths move a lot more than largemouths do. But if you're not catching fish, you just got to keep roll, and those places where the fishing's really good like that, you'll know when you get around, find what you need to find. And that's the biggest thing I think on the Great Lakes, anywhere up north is if you're just because there was 100 of them here yesterday, the wind changed a little bit. It's a little different day. They moved somewhere, and then just being able to like being open-minded to move 100 yards down the bank or out a little bit deeper, a little bit shallow. Just be fluid.
That's very interesting. That's fairly similar to the advice that I was given. This is some parallel elements in that. What do you have to? What is going to have to happen to get an Elite Series event to go north of the border up into Canada? I feel like that would be a wild thing, and we're seeing NFL have some events over in Europe, and the NBA and the NHL, like all these other professional sports are going across the borders. Like, is that something that you would like to see happen? Do you think that's even logistically possible? I mean, dude, there's a bunch of guys now, not to mention Mercer. Like, I think that would be awesome.
there would be no question the fans would come. The support would be insane. It would be like when we go to Orange, Texas, like insane crowds. All that would be amazing. I think the toughest hurdle would be like just work permits and border stuff, obviously like it's doable, but it would probably be a lot of work. I don't know, like all the anglers would have to have a passport. Like, I don't know that. It's hard to believe kind of, but maybe not all the anglers have a passport. And maybe there's some that aren't allowed to cross the border. Like, I don't know.
Okay.
I feel like that would be the biggest hurdle. But yeah, as far as like the fishing and the crowds and all that would be that'd be the dream come true for me.
It's kind of cool how it's exploded. Like, you knew the tournament fishing was up there, but it seems like over the past, 8 years,
yeah,
that tournament fishing. And then it's almost also seems like any of the Canadian anglers who try to make one of the major tours, like, come down and they're like, this is not nearly as hard as people made it out to be. Like, everyone just comes down and qualifies, like Cooper.
Yeah. No, and like my buddy Jamie Bruce,
he's killing it.
Pretty good. He's legit. Like, I very rarely beat that guy in a tournament around home here, and he's good. But yeah, I think we even though our season's short up here, we're lucky in that we have a lot of variety on, we have a lot of grass, we have deep, clear water, we have some rivers, some darker water. I mean, you get to kind of, and I know, like, I've heard Chris and Corey talk about this a lot over the years, like, just, we have a lot of variety on different ways that we can fish and catch fish. And I think that maybe serves us well as also.
All right, Gussie, I'm going to let you go. Thank you for jumping on BTL. Like I said, I wanted to get a little bit of a different perspective, kind of 3 months after the Classic win, kind of back to life in normal. Is it feel normal now?
Yeah, I mean, it does. But yeah, I definitely, hopefully I can take advantage of the situation here in the next foreseeable future and make the most of it. But yeah, it's again, I still can't believe it happened, and I'm just waiting to hear Knoxville show up on the schedule again, I guess.
It's a cool place. It's a really cool place. Like, the whole downtown, the way in, the fishing. I mean, the fishing was kind of brutal this year, but I mean,
I fished a few classics, and I mean the location, like the host it's by far the best. Like, it's so awesome not having that 2-hour ride to the lake every day back and forth. It was really nice there how you could essentially walk everywhere and get around pretty easy. And yeah, it was a cool city. But
were you the first smallmouth winner of the Classic since Wu won in Chicago?
I believe so, yes. There was one other one back in the day as well that was a
Pittsburgh had smallmouth.
Yeah,
2005.
Right. Yeah, I don't know
but
if
not
full
all smallmouth.
No, but yeah,
I think Wu had all smallmouth on the tube under the Chicago skyline, and then they weighed in Soldier Field in front of like 11 people.
Yeah, that's crazy that was sort of a bust. That's surprising to me, but
they had it like right there, like on the field in the expo, and I think they did like a combo ICAST / Classic that year. All I remember is that was before my time. I just remember everyone talking about what a debacle that was.
Yeah.
Bass has gotten it right lately when it comes to the Classic.
It's incredible, like the whole spectacle, and I don't know if you were at the takeoffs at all any of the mornings, but like it was unbelievable, just like how happy people were to be there and just see everything. And it's special, man. I for everybody out there, if you got a chance to make it and get to fish in that tournament, it's life-changing, and it's just a lot of fun, and it's the highlight of the sport for sure.
Good stuff. All right, Gussie, I'm going to let you go, but I greatly appreciate the time, and look forward to seeing how you do the rest of the year, and then I'll see you at the Classic at Grand.
I'm expecting big things here. Take advantage of this home lake you got, and go have fun, and just keep it simple.
Do you catch him better when you're having fun? Like, you seem like a guy who has fun. Is that a true thing?
1000%. Go have fun and keep it simple, and just let the don't just let the weather tell you what to do and let the conditions tell you what to do tomorrow.
All right. Thanks,
Okay,
Gussie.
good luck.
See ya.
Later.
All right, Jeff Gustafson, one of the good guys in the sport, and a very interesting perspective up there. First Canadian to win the Bassmaster Classic. And I'm going to go out on a limb and say he won't be the last Canadian to win the Bassmaster Classic either. He's going to get another one, or there's 5 or 6 others that are probably, by the time their career is over, going to have one under their belt. So we're going to take our final break. And when we come back, take a look ahead at BTL. It's what we have during the last couple months of June, and then a very busy month of July. It's BTL on a Wednesday. We'll be back right after this. Shoreline Boat and RV, dock rash, storm damage, collision repair, that deep scratch or gouge from trying to access that secret creek. Shoreline Boat and RV can get your prized possession back in mint condition and looking good on the water fast. All repairs are done in-house, so they're able to get your boat or RV back to brand new quickly. All Shoreline's work comes with a rock-solid warranty. Find out more at ShorelineBoatandRV.com. Kansas City, Austin, and Tulsa.
I'm the kind of guy that never leaves the house without a pocket knife, and Gamakatsu's come out with the EDC series of knives. EDC stands for Everyday Carry, so whether you're on the water or off, you can always have it with you. The best thing about it to me is that assisted open feature. With this D2 blade, you've got it right here at your fingertips. So if you can't find your scissors, you need to cut a knot, you need to cut your braid, you've always got it. Make sure you check it out. Never leave home without your Gamakatsu EDC knife.
The great thing about the new Sensation soft plastics from Big Bite Baits, heavily scented, super soft, buoyant, comes in 7 great new shapes. I've got a couple of them of my signature series, the cliffhanger worm and the ramtail craw, great for a flipping jig, football jig, swim jig, all that. Several other great shapes. Really excited about it. We've worked over the last year, catches fish all over the country, and I think it's going to catch fish for people everywhere you try it.
The Spro Little John crankbait has been around for almost 15 years, and it is one of my go-to crankbaits whenever I need a fish in the boat, so you can never have enough new colors. That's why Spro's coming out with a handful of new colors, including Pearl Shad, which has this bleached out white look, but it's got this pearlescent, really pretty. We've got Copper Shad, which looks amazing in the water. It's got that purple flake on the back, really pops in the water. And then if you want some real pop, we've got Sparkle Shad, nothing but sparkles all over this thing. And then last but not least, we've got the matte Sexy Shad, just a really different looking color for a crankbait. So you want to give them a little different look, that matte Sexy Shad is definitely the one to go with. All these colors are available in the original Little John and the MD.
Are you looking to install your own fishing electronics? The solution is the Bass Tank Power Harness. It takes the guesswork out of installation. No more voltage issues or interference. Designed by an engineer so that you can get professional results right there in your own garage. Installation done right with the help of the Bass Tank Power Harness. You can feel confident knowing that your installation was done right. The Bass Tank Power Harness. Give us a call or order yours today at thebasstank.com.
Get the best patterns backed by tournament data. Start by finding the best 10% of your lake. Know exactly what to look for and what to throw. After that, just put them in the boat. Try the Deep Dive app today.
Look at that beast right there.
All right, wrapping things up here, BTL on a Wednesday. There is no day 4 tomorrow because we already did day 4 on a Tuesday. So if you're looking for day 4 tomorrow with Frank Scalish, we did that show Tuesday night live. So you can go back and watch the replay on that. After this week, we'll be back in studio for 2 weeks live, and then hitting the road in July, headed to Kurt Dove's Pro Bass Camp on Lake Oneida the first week of July. Immediately followed by ICAST, immediately followed by the St. Lawrence River in New York, immediately followed by a little perch fishing venture up to Lake Erie with Michael Simonton. Guy can put you on some jumbo perch. So my dad and I haven't fished together in like probably 8-9 years. And he's originally from Ohio. So we're like, hey, let's go up and catch some perch with Michael Simonton. So we're going to go do that. And then I got to head up to Michigan for a media event after that. So it's going to be a very eventful July, just like it sounds like it's been a very eventful year so far for Jeff Gustafson, the reigning Bassmaster Classic champ. All right, that's all we got for today. Watch the coverage of the Bassmaster Open on Lake Eufaula in Oklahoma for the next 3 days. And we'll be back live on Monday, June 19th with a brand new live show from the studio in Shawnee, Oklahoma. That's all we got for today, everybody. See ya.